is known as the 10 exalted things or 10 superior things. And so here we are talking comparatively, relatively, that such and such is superior or better than having this and that. So in that comparison, so normally what this session does is that it sort of shifts our understanding, what we understand, what we see, what we think of as something something that we should attain, something that we should gain, is not actually that great, but something else, something other than that, something that we already have is much more great, much greater. In other words, we should not, there's a phrase in English called "the grass is always greener on the other side." So this teaching, this session actually talks about this phenomena, in the sense that we already have what it needs to achieve our goals. And so in order to, let's say happiness is our goal, so in order to achieve happiness, we do not have to become we do not have to attain the God realm, we do not have to become a god, or we do not have to have wings to fly, or be able to walk on the sea or things like that, but simply being a human being, simply realizing all the qualities that we already have, we can achieve great things, to put it simply. So the first of which is that rather than having any of the other lives, there's 6 realms, the 3 upper realms, 3 higher realms, and the 3 lower realms. Of all the 6 realms, the human life is the most precious one. Does it mean the human life is the most pleasant one? Not necessarily. The human life has ups and downs, and because it has ups and downs, it is the most precious life, especially for a practitioner, for someone. So for someone who wishes to achieve great things spiritually, someone who wishes to become great, then the human life is the one, or most incredible one, because in the human life we have the capability to take in a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and through that suffering it motivates us, it moves us to come out of that cage. So therefore the human life is the most precious one. So that will be the first instruction from today's teaching. Rather than all the other realms, the human life is the most precious one. The human life is the greatest of all the 6 realms. So there is the God realm, which is mostly pleasant until the time of death. So 99.9% of the time were spent in leisure, and because there is so much luxury, so much pleasantries, and so much pleasure to enjoy, one forgets the goal of the life. Since one has not achieved enlightenment or the state of arhathood, one will, once the merit that has been accumulated in the past lives has been used up, has been used, then there is no other way to go for the God realm. So since you have used all your credit, and you have no more credit left, credit of the merit, you have no merit accumulation of all your merit has been used up, and so because there is no more credit left, there is no more merit left. You have nowhere but down to go, and that means you were born in hell realm or in the lower realms, and you keep suffering, and this cyclic existence goes on and like that. And so in the Arya, in the world of the asuras or the demigods, they are always living in jealousy, living. So let's do this. There is the sixth realms is the hell realm. Always suffering, always suffering, perennial suffering. And then there is the hungry ghost, which is always longing for something, which is always hungry, no food, nothing to eat, and whatever food you may give them, you're not able to consume them. And then there is the animal realm, where you do not have the same intelligence as the humans do. The three lower realms: hungry ghost, hell realm, and the animal realm. Then you have the three higher realms, which starts from the human realm, and then the demigod realm and the god realm. So in the human realm, we are living in the human world, so we know pretty much how the human world functions. And in the demigod, the god realm is always living in pleasantries, in pleasure. And the demigod is always, the demigods are very powerful, but they are always, they do not have the same resources as the gods have. And they do not look as, so because of that, they are always in jealousy. Because of jealousy, there is always the will to fight and to kick off the competition. So they are always living in that sort of, rat race. So therefore, the human realm is the only realm that has that sees both. It is not always in suffering. It is not always in pleasant terms, and so therefore it has seen both of the sides. And so therefore the human realm doesn't want to be in suffering, because it has seen a huge number of suffering. At the same time, the human realm does not long for the pleasant, the pleasures as the gods do, because in the human realm, you are able to see that the pleasures that the gods enjoy will not last forever. So therefore, you are looking for the everlasting happiness, and which comes only through practices of meditation upon the ultimate truth. Once you realize the ultimate truth, then the chains, actually the shackles that chain you to samsara will be shattered, will be cut. So therefore, the human realm has the ability to see both sides, has the ability to see both sides, and has the ability to come over both of them. Normally, so this is the literal sense of the six realms. But we can also understand it in figuratively, in a figurative way. That is, even if you don't believe in the next life, or if you don't believe in the hell realm, that when you die you will be born in the hell realm, or things like that. If you believe in one life sort of a philosophy, that this is the only life that you have, and there is no life before that and no life after this, even then the philosophy of the six realms can be applied here. So the hungry ghost, the hell realm is those who are living in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty has nothing to eat, goes maybe 2-3 days without having any food to eat, has no education, no knowledge, anything. And these kind of people, they are living in extreme poverty and extreme suffering. Maybe people who are living in war-torn places, and so they have no hope of getting out of that. So they remain there until the end of their lives. So these are the hell realm. And then there are people who are a little bit better than that. People who have who have little education, maybe who have few things to eat, but not enough. Maybe you don't have enough to eat for yourself, but you may have something for you to. You may have enough for yourself to feed upon, but you have lots of family members to look after whom you cannot take care of, and so the list goes on. And in such cases, what you do is you are always longing for something more. You are always hungry for something. You are always hungry for more food, more money, more this and more that. This can also happen to people who have lots of possessions. You may have lots of luxuries, but you still want more and more and more. So that is the realm of the hungry ghost. Even if you don't believe in the 6 realms, as like hell realm and the hungry ghost realm, as spoken in the scriptures, this can be seen in our everyday lives. People who are always hungry for something better, who are not able to live in the present. That is the hungry ghost realm. And then you have the human realm, which is the common people who have good things and bad things both happening at the same time. Then you have people, that is the human realm, and then you have people who have a lot more, who are very well to do, but they are not at the top level yet. And because they are not at the top level, they are always trying to be at the top level, always being in competition with the person who are at the top level, and always trying to get there by crook or by hook. And so that is the asura level. That is the demigod level. You always try to get at the number one, become the number one. And then those who are at the number one level, they also have lots of things to worry about. Even though everything seems to be so pleasant, everything seems to be working from a common man's perspective. They have everything, but at the same time, they are always their mind is always at not at rest, because they have lots of how should I keep all my wealth intact? How must I increase my wealth, or my health, my family's wealth? So people who have a lot of wealth, they have nothing to worry about money, but the health is a big issue. I have lots of money, but this money I cannot spend in my whole life. So at most I will live up to 100, but after that, who is going to take care of my money? So you want all the money, and you want to spend it all by yourself, and you cannot do that because your life is limited, and because of that there is a restriction to the lifespan, and because of that you try to think of many different ways to lengthen your lifespan by trying different means and doing different things and so on and so forth. So this is called being attached, craving for eternalism. So you want to live for it, have an eternal life. So we read about this in many of the ancient stories of kings who has everything but a long life. So they try to look for a way to live forever. And even living for a very long life is not sufficient. You want to have a long life with the same you want to have the same vitality as your youth. So there are so many things to worry about, even when you are You have all the wealth in the world. You may be the richest person in the world, but you still, your life is limited. And if you live for over 100 years, your organs will fail, and your sense perceptions will fail. You will not be able to taste the same food. You will not be, even if you live a very long life, you are disallowed from taking this and that food. So this and that goes on. So if you think of, even in like, if you believe in only one life system, you don't believe in the next life, afterlife, we still have the 6 realms working around in our daily, everyday life. So in this scenario, the human realm is the one that sees both, as I said before, that has seen both sides. It has seen the human life has been poor and has tasted some of the riches. So therefore, the human life is the perfect sort of specimen because it has been in the darkness. It wants to come out of it wants to come out, and because it has seen light, so they know where to go. Out of darkness is not nothingness. Out of darkness there is some light, and so the human life is the best specimen for a spiritual practitioner to develop oneself. Okay, so that is the first instruction. So the first instruction is like the base. So we elaborated on that a little bit. Now the second instruction is that a person who who practices the Dharma is superior or better than the person who does not practice the Dharma. So once again, we have to understand that in a relative sense. So what it actually means here is that think of it that way. Normally, the things that we mostly care about is our body. So we think in the terms of mind, body, and speech, right? Most of the time we think about our body and we care for our body. We say I'm hungry and we eat because actually hunger is a bodily function. And when our stomach or bladder is full, we go to the restroom. That is also a bodily function. So most of the time we care a lot for our body. I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm this and I'm that. And so we identify ourselves with our body. When my body is cold, I say I am cold. When my body is hungry, my stomach is hungry, I said I am hungry. When my so on and so forth. So we identify ourselves with our body. We rely so much upon our body. But more than that, actually, it is the mind. That body is the boat upon which the mind is the passenger, and the body is the boat or the vehicle which carries the passenger. So therefore, on a bus or maybe on a boat, when you cross the river, the boat is left at the end of the river by the riverside. The boat is left at the riverside, and the passenger has to cross over. The passenger goes. The boat never crosses the river. So similarly, the body does not cross over this life. Once you die, when this lifespan is over, then the body remains, and only the mind, the spirit, leaves. The spirit goes on and on for eons and eons. When at the moment spirit, the mind from the human body enters his body, then we are no longer interested in eating all the delicious food, the so-called delicious food that we place on our table. Now we are more interested in eating, grass and leaves and stuff like that, and we are no longer interested in wearing good clothes and so on and so forth. So wherever our mind enters, wherever our mind goes, we go at the center. We go there. But usually we have been accustomed to treating ourselves as our body, not as our mind, and that is a very big mistake. because in the long term, it is the mind that sustains everything. So therefore, we should take care of our mind. And Dharma practice is all about nothing. Dharma practice is all about developing your spiritual capability to the fullest. That is what Dharma is all about. Dharma means developing your spiritual capability, your mental capability to the maximum. Become the most compassionate person, become the wisest person, become the person with no jealousy at all, become the person with no attachment at all, so on and so forth. So that is the goal. Whether you are in a donkey's body, or whether you are in a human body or God body, whatever, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you are free from all those attachments, all those anger and all those ignorances, then you have reached your fullest potential. Once you reach that stage, you can enter any life form. If you want to fly, you can enter into a bird's form. You can enter into a donkey's form. If you want to carry some burden, you can become a human. Whatever you like, you can do that. Changing forms is not an effort anymore. Once you have freed your mind from all those forms of tatterings, all these clutches, the clutches of the three poisons. Once you have done that, so therefore, someone who practices Dharma is better than someone superior than someone who doesn't practice Dharma, because that person has actually is already on the verge, on the path of developing one's mind to its fullest extent. Number 3 is that the vehicle of meaningful essential path is superior to all other ordinary vehicles of paths. So this is we are talking about this is a reference to actually Mahayana practices, and especially Vajrayana practices. So of all the paths and all the practices there is, the Mahayana or the within Mahayana, the Vajrayana practices is the supreme. So this is nothing to. We're not trying to belittle other traditions or of that kind. So again, what happens nowadays is that people identify themselves with their traditions. So when we say something about the Hinayana or the Theravada system, they think we are belittling the people from Thailand and from Burma and Sri Lanka who practice the Theravada system. So what we are actually talking about here is that there are many different forms of practicing the Buddha Dharma, and Mahayana is one of them, Theravada is also one of them, and Vajrayana is also one of them. And of all the three, the Vajrayana is the supreme in two ways, or in two senses. The first is because it is the fastest, and actually you can interchange both, because it is fast. Because it adapts so much. The Vajrayana has the adaptability and the velocity, the speed to achieve enlightenment, to achieve your goal of ultimate peace, ultimate everlasting peace, whatever you may call it. It is fast because it actually converts all the adversities into tools that will actually help you build yourself, enable you to realize your goal. For example, in the Hinayana or in the even in Mahayana, in general Mahayana practice, there are so many things that one shouldn't do because of this and that. But in the Vajrayana practices, okay, if you are going to do that, just do that, but with a different set of different mindset, and with a different goal. And once you do that, it actually helps a whole lot more people. And it helps because when you help a lot more, okay, let me give you an example. In the Theravada system, and you are told not to amass wealth, you are told not to you are told not to keep a lot of property, keep yourself, not to become too. Amassing a lot of wealth is looked down upon. But in the general Mahayana system, you are told that if you want to keep wealth, because with wealth, you amass a lot of wealth, and the amount of wealth, if you have the acumen to prosper in business, then make lots of money, and from the money that you have made, use the one that you need, that is necessary for you, and the rest give to others, people who are lesser than you. So the perspective changes, and also in the Vajrayana, all the you will see the Vajrayana in the Vajrayana practitioners, you will see a lot of couples, family members keeping together, and in the Theravada system, in the Hinayana system, or in the Theravada system, whatever you may call it, life of celibacy is very important. That if you keep a family life, you will not be able to do this and this and that. So it's better to live as a monk or a nun, and that is also one. But in the Vajrayana practices, you were taught how to keep a family and also progress spiritually as well. So is this a great practice? Absolutely. Is this a practice for everyone? That is a question you have to ask yourself personally. So Vajrayana practice may not be for everyone. Some people may do better in isolation by themselves. Some people may do better with a partner, with a family, with more wealth. Some people are better off. Some people, we see that in our life many times. Oh, they, this and that, become rich, have lots of money nowadays, and now they have changed all the way, right? So some people are not able to put their foot firmly on the ground when their status changes. And for those people, maybe living a life of austerity, living a life of not so much wealth, living a very simple life is very good, because when they live a very simple life, their mind is in balance, they do everything properly. But some people, when they amass a lot of wealth, they help a lot of people, and so on and so forth. And so for those people, so similarly, Vajrayana practice may or may not be for everyone. It is a personal choice, but it is advanced, and it is superior in the sense that there is no restriction upon. So normally, what is seen as a restriction normally is not seen as a restriction in the Vajrayana practices. So therefore, this is superior to other practices, because you can now convert all of your adversity into your friends, into things that will help you, into things that will help you grow. So the next lesson says that knowledge gained from a moment of meditation is far more better than all the knowledges that is gained from reflection and gained from hearing. So remember, there are three modes or three stages of practices. The first is hearing or listening Dharma from a teacher. The second one is to reflect upon it yourself. And the third is to put into practice or put into application what you have reflected on, what the conclusion that you have made after hearing and contemplating upon it. So the reason it says the knowledge gained from meditation is far more superior than that from the reflection and hearing, is because um, there are moments when you listen to someone speaking, you might think, oh, this may be true. This sounds so nice, so good. But then you keep thinking about it, and then lots of doubts may arise. And so when you think about it, there are many doubts, and then you analyze that within all the then you analyze it with all the logical apparatus that you have, that you possess, and then you finalize, okay, this is the truth, this is what it is. And once you finalize upon something, since you are new to this thing, since this is something foreign, something it's a new habit that you are developing, uh, it has not yet become a habit of yours. It has not become effortless for you. So in order to make that an effortless experience, you have to actually meditate upon it. So it's just like, okay, let's give you an example of how to ride a bike. So if someone tells you how to ride a bike, listening about, a teacher, an instructor may give you a perfect example of how to ride a bike. So you may think, okay, I know how to ride a bike. But the moment that you are on the bike, you will fall down because you don't know how to ride a bike. You cannot learn how to ride a bike by just listening to a teacher talking about how to ride a bike. And then you start riding the bike yourself. One step, two step, pedaling. You may fall down once and twice and thrice and maybe 100 times. And then the more you keep pedaling, the more you keep cycling, the better you become at cycling. So the first step of someone telling you how to drive, how to ride a bike, that is the hearing aspect. Then you actually riding on the bike for the first time, that is the first time, second time, third time, until you become better, that is the reflection or the contemplation stage. And once you once you know how.
I lost some sentences because of the weak signal.
Okay, I got it. So I just I use the analogy of a bicycle. So someone telling you how to ride a bike, then you actually riding a bicycle, but falling down many times, and then being able to ride the bike properly. So these three stages are the stages of listening or hearing, reflection, and meditation. Next is a moment of non-composite virtue is superior to all the composite virtues. So composite virtue and non-composite virtue here refers to nothing but nirvana. Um, um, so nirvana is non-composite, meaning nirvana is not created, or nirvana is not composed. Nirvana is not created by anyone or anything. Nirvana is the freedom. Nirvana is the voidness, the void of all the attachment and all the suffering. And all the suffering is emptied. When all the sufferings are empty, that emptiness is that emptiness is the nirvana. So this emptiness is a little different from the emptiness that we usually talk about. This voidness, let's say, the voidness of all the sufferings, the voidness of all the longings, the voidness of all the attachment, and so on and so forth, that negativities, that is the nirvana. The four truths, right? The truth of cessation. Yeah, the truth of cessation, that is what we are referring to. So virtues amassed by meditating, by being on the path of the ultimate truth, the path of the truth of cessation. So the truth of the path, the four noble truths, the truth of the path leads to the truth of cessation. So by treading on the truth of cessation, through the truth of path, one amasses a huge number of merit, accumulates a great amount of merit, wisdom, knowledge, and so on and so forth. And that virtue, that merit is far more better, far more superior than knowledge is amassed through other means. So that is what it's referring to when it says virtues from composite, non-composite virtues are far more superior than composite virtues. It means when you meditate on the path of cessation, when you are treading on the path of cessation through when you are reaching, when you are on the truth of cessation, by treading on the path of the truth of the path, you are actually amassing a huge number of merit. So it is referring to that merit, that virtue. The next is similar. It says one moment of undefiled virtue is far more superior than defiled virtue. So defiled virtue and non-defiled virtue is a reference to the way. So virtue by itself is undefiled. The method of massing that virtue, massing that merit, determines whether the virtue is undefiled or defiled or undefiled virtue. By nature, all merits are, all virtues are undefiled. So, what is the undefiled virtue? What is the defiled virtue? So, defilements is a stain. Defilement, stain. In the Tibetan, the word in Tibetan is used as sakje. Sakwa means to fall. Je means to be able to fall. To be able to fall. Sarme means not able to fall. So defile is something. Defile is dirt. It's stain. Usually, when we have defilements, when we have some stain on or dust on our mobile phone, on our table, we usually clean it. We remove it. So defilements and dust is something unwanted. We remove it. Defiled virtue is virtue gained. Okay, let's go with the undefiled virtue first. Undefiled virtue is virtue or merit gained from engaging in the meditative practice of understanding the selflessness. Because of our selfish, the clinging to the self, grasping of the self. The self-grasping attitude is what actually brings us to samsara. And as long as we are in samsara, we are falling. We are falling. We are falling. So because of that, it is defiled. And the root of samsara is the selfish, self-grasping attitude. And in order to remove the self-grasping attitude, we have to engage in the understanding of selflessness. And so once you engage in the meditative practices of selflessness, or in the contemplative practices of selflessness, then all the virtues that you amass doing such practices, such procedures, all those virtues are undefiled. They are undefiled because they will not bring you. They are in direct contradiction to the root of samsara, which is self-grasping attitude. So any merit gained through engaging on the practice of selflessness is regarded as undiluted, undefiled virtue. Any other practices is called defiled virtue. After this, I will take questions if you have questions. Okay, so let's open up for questions, and if there are not many questions, then I will finish up the last three instructions.
We only have one question from the chair. Oh, there is a question.
Please go on.
Rinpoche, will you please tell us how we can say sometimes people lack interest in Dharma, but they have loving kindness and compassion? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay, so I think people who lack interest in religion but have interest in, are generally compassionate and kind. So that is the question, right? So I think this is due to the fact that in the recent, I'm not just recent. I mean, as long as time remembers, we have seen religion being practiced here and there, and so Dharma is a form. You can say Dharma is in a very strict manner. You can say Dharma is a religion. What happens is that people are not interested in religion because there are many people who live a religious life, who are in the religious flock, but then abuse their status and do a lot of negative thing, and that has a very bad influence. And also the society at large is not very religious, not very spiritual, to be honest, but religious in the sense that it is a cultural norm. If you come to the West, if you come to the eastern side, people are religious in general, but may or may not be spiritual. People are very religious because they always celebrate religious festivals and so on and so forth. And then religious institutions have huge lots of benefits and so on and so forth. And when you come to the West, people in general are not that much into religion. People who actually, I think, in societies where there's a lot of scientific advancement are there, when scientific advancement, after all, is advancement and achievement in this lifetime, current lifetime. So when you have so much, when you have most of the things that you need in this lifetime around you, then you are, it's pretty much similar to the God realm. When you have all the things that you need in your surrounding, you have air conditioner, you have cars, you have, you don't have to walk 10 miles to get get one bucket full of water. You just turn on the tap and you get water in your home. I think this is pretty much same everywhere, except for very, very poor villages, very, very rural villages. But in many places there is no AC, there is no heater, and then so on and so forth. So when the current life status, the life status is very good, the people are not that much interested in religion. Because religion usually talks about next life and so on and so forth, and it seems so far away, far off, and it seems so irrelevant because your life is quite good by physically in its and people because of the people who have been abusing religion a lot. And because of these things, people who are naturally kind and compassionate may not necessarily want to become religious. And so His Holiness always says that it is not necessary for one to become religious in order to become good person. And I agree 100% that it is most important to become a good person first. If you want to become a religious person, of course you need to become a good person. If you become a religious person with a bad, without compassion, without kindness, and in other words, if you become a religious person with a bad mindset, you actually become a bad religious person. so it doesn't serve the purpose. So in order to become a good person, in order to practice religion, you must become a good person. I think being a good person, being a kind and compassionate person, an ethical person, is more important than being a religious person. You can be a religious person. So religion and spirituality, or religion and Dharma, I myself see that as to a different light. A person who is into Dharma and a person who is into religion is two different people, I think. Even though from a strictly manner of speaking, you might say that Dharma is religion, but if you are lacking in compassion, if you are lacking in kindness, if you are lacking in understanding, then you are not into Dharma. You may be practicing religion in the sense that you are following a certain cultural norm called Buddhism. So it becomes an ism, Buddhism, Christianism it becomes a dogma for you. A dogma is something that you do because your God or your prophet or your teacher, whatever, says so, but you may not believe into it, but because it is the social norm, you follow it with blind faith, and so it becomes a dogma for you, and that doesn't serve any purposes. If it becomes a dogma, then the religion itself drags you down. The religion itself becomes a defilement. So I think there should be a clear sort of like a distinction between what is religion and what is Dharma. Of course, they are not contradicting each other. Or one can be a religious person and one can be a Dharma practitioner as well. So a religious person is someone who does, let's say, 1,000 mantras of this and this and that, and does 100 prostration of this and that, and at the same time cheats on people, does a lot of bad things and all these things. That person is still a religious person because he's following all the religious norms, but it's not a Dharma person. It's not a spiritual person. A spiritual person may be sleeping the whole day, not doing any work, being a lazy person or whatever. But when someone needs a help, when someone needs something, there is no hesitation to help them. When someone needs something more than you do, you just take a step back and let that person go first. And that is a spiritual person. That is a person of the Dharma. Okay. Next question, please.
The second question. Rinpoche, how does one know which vehicle is suitable for one's practice? Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Very good question. So it's entirely up to you. You have to you know your personality best, right? So if you are someone who is into sophistication, into advanced practices, and into different levels of mind training and so on and so forth, then let's say if you are into practices of different mind trainings and also into developing compassion, of course it's very easy to talk about compassion, like everyone to be kindness and compassion are such a virtue, this and that, but do you really think compassion is such a great value? Do you really think putting others before yourself is such an important thing? If you don't feel like it at any way, then maybe Mahayana practice is not for you. No matter how much we say compassion is, we talk about this all the time. Compassion is good, virtue is good, world peace, inner peace, everything. But do you really want that thing? Do you really want inner peace? Do you really want world peace? Do you really want compassion? And how much are you willing to give up in order to achieve that? So this all comes into place. So in other words, if you are into simple things, then Theravada practice is very good, because it doesn't have that many requirements. So you try to meditation is the key, and that's about it. So you meditate, and there isn't much. Even though they do chant the Buddha's canon, but there is no chanting of the mantra and so on and so forth. So if you feel like, okay, what is the chanting mantra is so stupid, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, so repeatedly reciting one mantra for 100 times, 100,000 times, how can that help me? It doesn't make any sense at all. If you are that kind of person, then Vajrayana practice is not for you. If you feel like visualizing a certain god, certain deity, in white color, in black color, in blue color, with different artifacts in their hand, it seems so stupid. If you feel like that, then Vajrayana practice is not for you. But if you feel like it does make a change for you, it does make a spiritual, it does make a positive change on you spiritually, and so on and so forth, then this is a Vajrayana practice is for you. And so Hinayana practice or Theravada practice in general, actually, yeah, I've been to societies, actually in countries where they think chanting, there are Buddhist countries, but they think chanting mantras is so stupid, and there is no benefit at all. If you are born in such a society, and if you feel like chanting mantras will not help you at all, it is stupid, because repeatedly reciting someone's name will not do anything, because that person, the deity, right, Om Mani Padme Hum is mantra of Avalokiteshvara, and Avalokiteshvara is nowhere to be seen. So therefore it sounds so stupid, and it's so, if you feel like then your Vajrayana practice is not for you. But if you feel like the Avalokiteshvara as the personification, he may or may not be a literal person, but it's the personification of all the all the positiveness, the qualitative positiveness of compassion, manifested into a deified form, as a deity, then you can visualize Avalokiteshvara, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, if you are into simple things, then minimalism, if you want to simplify everything, you want to do a very simple practice, then Theravada practice is very good. Do meditation, vipassana, and so on, so like that. And you don't have any god, you don't have any mantra, you don't have anything else. Just do, just watch your mind, and that's all. But if you think you cannot watch your mind, you cannot do a simple meditation just by itself, you need different artifacts, different things to supplement your meditation, your practices. Then you can try other practices like Mahayana practices and general Mahayana practices, or uncommon Mahayana, unique, common and uncommon. Common Mahayana practices is without Vajrayana. Uncommon Mahayana practices means with Vajrayana. So if you are into simple things, if you don't like to do sophisticated things, then go for Theravada practices. It's very good. They teach very good meditation practices and so on and so forth. But if you think you are, it's too simplistic, you want something. You want your mind to be engaged with more sophisticated things, then go for Vajrayana practices, or like that.
Third question, Rinpoche. Rinpoche, how one can practice undefiled virtue, selflessness, with wisdom?
So virtue is a result, and in order to amass virtue is it's similar to merit. Virtue is a result gained from doing certain things. So when we talk about undefiled virtue and defiled virtue, we are talking about virtue that has been amassed or accumulated through doing certain practices. So undefiled virtue, as I mentioned earlier, is virtue amassed through the practice of engaging in the wisdom of selflessness, right? So I think the question actually is about how to meditate on selflessness, and through which one will be able to attain, accumulate undefiled wisdom. So let me just repeat once again that the root of samsara is self-grasping attitude, and because of that, selflessness, the understanding of selflessness, is the antidote, the key that unlocks the doorway to escape from samsara. Okay. So now selflessness here. So self as in myself, himself, ourself, like that. How do we the selfish attitude, the self-grasping attitude, is none other than identifying yourself, identifying myself or yourself, ourselves, with the substantial entity. So when we normally talk about myself, we are thinking of ourselves in bodily terms, in physical terms, right? As I mentioned earlier. So when my when my back aches, when my back is in pain, I say, "Oh, I'm in pain." When my tummy is longing for food, we say, "I am hungry," so on and so forth. So we identify ourselves with our body a lot, but our body is not ourselves, right? That is very clear, because if we have the option to change our body with someone else's, like someone who is much more healthier, much more fairer, much more taller, much more soft skin, I don't know, whatever. So if we have the ability to change with better eyesight, or with I don't know. So if we have the ability, if we were given the option to change our physical body to something better, then we will do. That is the reason why we take bath, right? That is why we wash ourselves, because after a certain time, our body becomes our body rots every day. It rots, and then it starts to smell. And so to remove that smell, we wash ourselves. To remove the stain and the dirt, we wash ourselves. We want to look better each day. We want to look different each day. We want to change our body, because we identify ourselves with our body. And we try to. So this goes on and on and on. So the reason we work so hard on this is because we grasp upon that substantial entity of a self. We look for ourself. We look for ourself in forms of something tangible in our physical body, with objects that we are attached with, with our car, with our money, whatever, with our physical body, and so on and so forth. But all those things are not us. Because the reason that is not us is because we are always eager and ready to change that with something else, something better. Our heart is not us. If we have heart, if we have the option to change our heart for something that is functioning much better than ours. If we have a heart failure, and people, when we have heart failure, we usually opt for, we hope that our hearts can be changed, even though it cannot be done so. But we have the the pacemaker to help our heart to function better. So, in other words, we identify ourselves with our physical body so much. And those of us who do not, if we look within ourselves, physically, mentally, or verbally, we try to identify ourselves with all those entities. So let's say our body is not us, but then our mind seems to be like us. We think, okay, when my mind is thinking, we say I am thinking, right? So it seems like my mind is me. Then again, my mind is not me, in the sense that if we have the option to change our mind, which has lots of negativities, which are lots of attachment, so lots of trappings there are. If we have the option to change that with the mind of the Buddha, the enlightened being, with no worries, no insecurities, no worries, and no obscurations, we will do it in a second. That means our mind is not us, because we are ready to change our mind, transform our mind, change our mind into something better. So that is not us. So that leaves us to the option that leaves us with the result that me, myself, us, I is only a designated phenomena. So me is something designated. Me is a term designated to an entity that is made up of our physical body, our loved ones, our mind, and all the other stuff. So that is me. So it's a designated. The me is a mere designation. It's a mere we is a mere designation, and that understanding, and one has that understanding. The understanding that the me is a mere designation is the understanding of selflessness, and the wisdom gained through that is known as the wisdom of selflessness. And when one engages in this meditation of selflessness, and the more you engage in the meditation of selflessness, the more undefiled virtue you accumulate. That virtue contributes to making the key, contributes to the creation of the key to unlock yourself from samsara, because that understanding, the understanding of selflessness, is in direct contradiction with self-grasping attitude. So self-grasping attitude and selflessness cannot remain in one place. So if there is self-grasping attitude, selflessness will not be able to thrive. If selflessness, the wisdom of selflessness is promoted, is developed, is cultivated, then self-grasping attitude gradually diminishes.
We have one last question, Vichela. Do you have a time for one last question?
Yeah, go on.
Rinpoche, can you please explain the differences between observative meditation and conceptual meditation? Thank you, Rinpoche.
You. Okay, so I'm not sure I did get the questions very clearly, but okay, let me just explain from what I understand. So the difference between observative meditation and conceptual meditation, right? So observative meditation is something that you simply observe, and conceptual meditation is something that you conceive. So what you see here is that in the first aspect, in the first meditation, in the first kind of meditation, you merely observe. You do not put put efforts into conceiving or thinking of anything. You make no efforts to conceive anything. And in the second one, you make efforts to conceive something. So the purpose here is this: observative meditation is something that you apply with something that you already possess within your mind. So you have a mind, you have anger, you have hatred. So you do not need to conceive them. You have dislike for someone, you have attachment towards something or someone, and you have the mind in general. So you keep observing your mind in general, and if there is a certain amount of dislike or a certain amount of liking, strong amount of liking towards someone or something, you observe how your mind is reacting at the time of at the time of in such incidents, such events, how your mind is engaging with the subject at time of lust, at time of greed, at time of anger, at time of mere laziness, and so on and so forth. That is mere observation of your mind with its basic functionalities. That is observative meditation. And I think this is quite common in the Theravada system and also in the Zen system. The other one is conceptual meditation. Is it's especially in Mahayana, common Mahayana in general, and also very much especially in the uncommon Mahayana, which is Vajrayana. So you conceive a deity in front of you. You conceive a deity that you have never seen before in your life, but you conceive a Chenrezig or your medicine Buddha or whatever. So we usually use the term visualization. So visualization is a conceptual meditation. You visualize, you conceive a certain Buddha. So the Buddha is not there, not externally out there, realistically out there. Of course, there are Buddhas, but it's not out there. You visualize it, you conceive it with your mind, and then you try to instill that image within the stream of your consciousness, and you try to build the stability, the firmness of your meditative concentration. So the second one, and in common Mahayana practices, you visualize great compassion and bodhicitta, which you do not possess at the moment, but you meditate upon that in a simulated form. So that is the difference between conceptual meditation and observative meditation. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rinpoche. We have no more questions. Thank you.
Let's conclude here and let's do the dedication prayers, please.
Chúng ta dừng lại ở đây và sang phần hồi hướng.
Sorry.
Wāndiye nyurdo nda lama sangye chokyo wāndi dhamma rinpa eye sala gebara semjo rinpo maye bana yenyu Gyeba nyambara meba